Now in studio, we want to talk about matters the built environment, how to ensure that we are safeguarding it and that the construction industry is working for the benefit of Kenyans. And to have this conversation is architect Lawrence Gitau, who is the secretary at the National Building Inspectorate. Karibu sana, architect.
Thank you very much.
Right, just give us an overview of what the role of the National Building Inspectorate is.
Thank you very much, and I'm grateful for being at the State Broadcaster. The National Building Inspectorate is a department in the State Department for Public Works. Our role mainly is to ensure resilient built infrastructure, that is to ensure that the buildings that we stay in are safe. And how we achieve this is by ensuring all the players, the built industry has many players, from the architects who design, the engineers, the contractors, and the other players, including the county government, who are the ones who have the mandate of development control to ensure that they all work as one. So we coordinate all the players in the built environment as the government. Yes.
Your role is ensuring that we have safe buildings.
Yes.
I will just throw it to you there. We've seen very many buildings collapsing in the past few years, and people have lost their lives, property. And so where is the disconnect? Some of these buildings have not even been fully constructed. They are midway. What is happening?
Thank you very much. Yes, in the past few years, from around 2015, we've seen an increase in building collapses. And this has been caused by many factors, quite a number of factors, but we can narrow down to the main factors. One is the way our people build. They have no recognition for built environment professionals. When people get land, one of the biggest issues, especially in Eastern Nairobi and many other places, is on land that has no title. So when you have land that has no title, you cannot acquire a building permit. So in those areas, and there are many areas, the people working in those places, those specific places, they have no architect, they have no engineer, and there's no contractor. And of course, in many other places where they have titles, our people circumvent this requirement to have the professionals design their buildings, to have the engineers do their structures. They also don't do geotechnical tests, that is, they do not investigate the quality of the soil and the ground where they build, and that is at the design stage. At construction, we have buildings being put up without contractors. You have buildings being put up without supervision by competent professionals. And we have buildings where people are taking shortcuts, using inappropriate materials, not putting the right mixtures of cement, sand, and concrete, using inadequate sizes for reinforcement, even when they've been designed, and also causing building collapses is climate change. When we build in areas that are not meant to be built. You see, there are some areas that should never build: on steep slopes, in swamps, in areas prone to flooding. But we've seen our people go all the way next to riparian reserves, next to the river, next to very steep slopes. So in those areas, unless you have a very good design, when it rains, when the floods come, the buildings will be swept away. So these are some of the issues, some of the factors that are causing building collapses in this country.
Right. And who is charged with ensuring that people are following the law as it should be? Because if you have, say, your designs or your construction permits done correctly, but at the construction stage, you start circumventing the law, who is supposed to make sure that people are building correctly?
Good. I think the first person who should ensure that buildings are being done correctly is the developer. You're putting in your money, your hard-earned money. So it's your first responsibility to ensure that you hire the services of competent professionals. That is, first, the designs are up to standard. You have the architect, you have the engineer who's designed. Then we have the county government. The county government under PLUPA, Planning and Land Use Act, have the mandate for development control to inspect and to ensure that buildings that are approved have passed the test, that is, their quality and that they should be built. And they also should supervise at critical stages. But the person who bears the sole responsibility is the consultant. But the consultant must be engaged. You see, the consultant will not come to your project unless you engage him and appropriately remunerate the consultant, that is the engineer and the architect. So the whole of this team ensures that the project is done. But beyond that, we have the other regulators. That is, we have the National Construction Authority, who should ensure that the project contractor who is registered for this project is actually doing the work. We've seen in this country, people comply for the sole purpose of having the papers. You'll go to a site, there's a sideboard. On the sideboard, the project is approved. That means it's been designed by a competent and a registered architect. The structure has been designed by a competent and registered engineer. These are registered contractor. All the other licenses from NEMA and others have been taken. But this is just for the board. Inside, when you go in, the architect is never invited to come and inspect. The engineer has never been to site. And the contractor was just for record. So the developer gets all these people, they get the initial design, and then gets some fundis to come and construct. I'm not saying that our fundis are bad, but every level of knowledge, every level of skill
is important.
And it has its role. So the architect has his role, the engineer has his role. So when you decide that the work of the engineer can be done by a technician who did 2 years or 1 year in college, when the engineer was there for 5 years, or when you decide that a technician who did 3 years can do the work of an architect who was in school for 6 years and had to do apprenticeship for 2 years before he's registered, then you know the value of what you get. It depends on the person, the quality of the person that you've employed. So, as I've said, all these players must come in, and that is why the National Building Inspector is there. Because as you've heard, there are many players. There are the architects and there are regulators. We have engineers, they are regulators. We have the contractors, they are regulators. And we have the county government that has the mandate of development control. And we must ensure that all these people, of course, plus other agencies like NEMA, Water Resources Authority, and the road agencies come into play. So we coordinate them to ensure that this harmony in the built environment.
Right.
Yes.
And even before we get to that construction place, there's something called planning. And as you said that the role of these is county governments carry a big part of this. According to a 2024 report on the built environment sector, only 20% of 911 urban centers in this country have secured necessary development approvals. Counties are supposed to put at least 30% of their annual budgets to development expenditures. Very few counties actually meet the threshold. So speak to us about the role of the county governments in ensuring that the built environment is working for the people.
Yes, the county governments play a very critical role since they have the mandate under PLUPA.
Right.
And, you know, where we start going wrong, as you said, is our planning. And when you look at planning, it's important you see planning at the start of a project. You build on land. For you to build, the land must have been subdivided and planned. You know, the sizes of land that have been approved by our county governments, by our physical planning departments in this country, some of them, I mean, you don't know what some of the people think. We have plots in this country which are 20 feet by 15 feet, where you have a tower that you can't do a staircase, but they are approved. We have parcels of land where the access roads are 3 meters, where you can't do a road. You know, a car can pass on 3 meters, but you must know that those roads are where you must pass the services. You have to do the drainage, you have to provide water there, you have to provide power there. So when you have a road that is below the minimum required dimensions, then whatever you do there cannot be safe, because you can access, you know, our slums. Even if you had a very nice building in the slums, however good it can be within the compound, if you are unable to access that space, that land, that parcel of land during an emergency, then your building is unsafe. So our issues start at planning, how we plan to subdivide our land. When we subdivide our land without taking care of the basic amenities, and having very small sizes that an architect can't plan for. Like those plans I'm talking about, you have a plot of 40 by 80 or 40 by 60. The planning guidelines and the building code, and especially the building code that you have now, the building code 2024, we have a new building code, determines that you should leave some setbacks to the side. 3 meters to the side, 3 meters to the side, and 6 meters to the front. If you have a 40 by 60 plot and you leave those setbacks on the building line as required by law, there is no space to build. You may just have a corridor in between.
Yeah.
So when you subdivide the land without due reference to the regulations, that is, without meeting the minimum size of land that you should have for a property, then whatever else you do there is lost. And the job of approving subdivisions is with the county. Then, of course, we go to the second phase. There's an architect who's designed, or there's no architect, or there's an engineer, and they submit these drawings. The role of the county government, the Department for Development Control, is to confirm first that this work has been done by a competent, licensed architect. In many times we find that buildings have been approved when the county has not confirmed that the person who's designed is registered, is licensed, that is a licensed architect and a licensed engineer. We've also seen now, as we saw in Mombasa, and it's also happening in Nairobi, you know, when you want to finish someone, you know, you starve them. Eh? So when the architects have no work, then they start lending out their credentials. There's a new problem where projects are supposedly approved because they've been designed by architects and engineers, but essentially the architect and the engineer was hungry. We've killed the industry, we made the industry a Kadogo industry, so the architect has no work to do, and we've seen architects who decided to spoil the environment, to just stamp everything. And now the county government, and here we have an issue with the county government. This is a discussion that we want to start at a national level and then discuss with the county government, and especially on the law that is in charge, that controls development, that is PLUPA. You know, the county government, in as much as they approve, they take no responsibility. So the architect takes the drawing, the engineer takes the drawing. First assumption is that the architect and the engineer are competent and
keep going. Yeah.
Yes, are competent and they've been registered. So they do not check. There's an indemnity. We've approved, but our approval does not mean anything. You're still responsible as the architect or as the engineer or as the developer. So we must start this conversation. As a county government, you cannot approve and then say you're not responsible. You should approve and be responsible, or demand more responsibility from the consultant. So the counties, the challenges we have at the counties on this part, especially on the approval process, is on capacity. You know, most counties have issues with, as you said, we should be spending 30% on development, but you're spending 70%. But even that 70%, we do not have skills in the areas that require skills. So you'll find, we've seen in counties, I will not name them, we move around in the counties. You find a county is collecting billions, a very huge chunk of its own source revenue, but they're not putting the money back on the areas where they get the revenue. We've seen counties without a single engineer, without a single architect. So in as much as you expect the work to be designed by an architect, the works to be designed by an engineer, if the person who is approving these works is not of equal capacity and competence, then we fail at that point. And there are many such counties. A good number of them have just gotten a few, the ones with engineers and architects, are the ones that have been supposedly forced by World Bank as they want to have municipalities. So we have some In the municipalities, you'll find an architect, an engineer, because the World Bank was strict. But generally, our counties are ill-equipped to offer this development control service, and therefore unable to know, whether a building, so long as it's stamped, they also just annex their stamp.
Right.
So, and then that is the role of the counties. And at construction, they still have a role.
Okay.
The regulations, and even the old building code and the bylaws of the county government require that inspectors from the county go to site, and at some key stages, I mean, the developer or the contractor should invite them, tell them, today I'm laying the slab, come and inspect. But they've only highlighted some few areas where they inspect. So, but often when they come, it's just passing by, stamp, just to fill the documents, because essentially you've already signed a disclaimer as the consultant that you're indemnifying them.
Right, so they do not take any responsibility
exactly,
in case of something.
they have no responsibility.
Right,
yeah.
That is something that needs to be looked at, definitely. I'm informed that we are out of time. I'll give you 1 minute to give us your closing remarks.
Thank you. I think my closing remarks, I would just want to talk to Kenyans and ask them to use our built environment professionals, and they're there, there are many, and just to ask them, we are taking our children to school to be architects, to be engineers. If you do not develop this industry, if when you're building, and all of us are building, most Kenyans aspire to own a house, to own a building. This is where we put our own hard-earned money. Please use the services of our built environment professionals. And now on a new emerging issue, if you want to acquire a property, you need to be assured that that property is safe. The people who can assure you, who can do you test, is the National Building Inspectorate. We are at Hill Plaza, next to the Dimani Law Courts, first floor. Come, talk to us. Before you buy that property worth millions, let us assure you that that property is safe, its structure is safe, and it not develop cracks in the next few days, and that it can sustain, can live for long.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much. That is where we end the conversation this morning with architect Lawrence Gitau, who is the Secretary, National Building Inspectorate, talking about safeguarding the built environment. My name is Betty Kiptum, and Byron Abuli is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Do have yourself a lovely afternoon and continue enjoying KBC Channel 1. Bye-bye.